In the great tapestry of creation, there is a single golden thread that runs through every act of manifestation, every answered prayer, every sudden windfall or unexpected blessing. This thread is the spoken word your word uttered, not as a wish drifting on the breeze, but as a decree, a command, a law sent forth into the invisible, where it binds the very elements of the universe to your will. The spoken word, when charged with the full authority of your divine nature, becomes a living force, a creative instrument that shapes the formless into form and the unseen into the seen. Most people go about their days, speaking countless words, some hopeful, some fearful, some careless, some routine, never pausing to realize that each utterance is a seed cast into the fertile soil of spirit. Every word, whether spoken in jest or earnest, is received by the infinite intelligence that underlies all things, and there it takes root, destined to yield a harvest after its own kind. Idle words of lack, of limitation, of complaint, are as surely creative as the words of faith, of abundance, of joy. But there is a higher application, a master key that unlocks the storehouse of wealth and freedom, the deliberate, authoritative declaration. To speak with authority is not to shout, to beg, or to repeat empty phrases in desperation. True authority is quiet, composed, and absolute. It is the voice of one who remembers their birthright, who knows that they are not a stranger in the universe, but a beloved child of the infinite, endowed with the same creative power that called light from darkness and set the stars in their courses. When you speak from this place, your word is not a plea, it is a law. It is not a question, it is an answer. It is not a wish, it is fulfillment. Consider the origin of all creation. Before there was form, before there was light or life, there was the Word. In the ancient wisdom it is written, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." Creation itself unfolds through the utterance of divine intent. Let there be light, and there was light. This same pattern is mirrored in you, for you are an individualized expression of the infinite. Thus, when you declare your good with unwavering faith and complete conviction, you are not speaking into empty space, but into the very substance of creation, setting in motion the spiritual chemistry that transforms thought into experience. Words are not mere sounds or symbols, they are living forces. Each word you speak acts as a blueprint, a perfect pattern that your subconscious mind receives as unquestioned instruction. The subconscious, faithful and literal, does not debate or analyze, it simply obeys. It begins at once to summon people, places, ideas, opportunities, and resources to fill out the design you have outlined with your word. This is the spiritual law of cause and effect, working in the invisible realm as surely as gravity works in the physical. This is why the careless recounting of misfortune, the habitual rehearsal of lack or disappointment, is so costly. If you constantly describe shortage, you create shortage's mold. If you magnify delays and obstacles, you forge a pathway for them to arrive. But when you speak as one who knows their authority, your word becomes a living thing, an angel of good going out before you, preparing every step and returning with spoils. There is a vital difference between affirmation and declaration. An affirmation, often spoken in the hope of convincing oneself, can carry an undercurrent of doubt. "I hope this is true," or "I am trying to make this true." A declaration, by contrast, is an unequivocal statement of fact, a pronouncement that what is true in the invisible is now called forth into visible manifestation. It is the difference between saying, "I am trying to be prosperous," and stating, "I am prosperity, and my wealth now flows without limits." The latter is the voice of Costedit, one who knows, and the universe, recognizing its kin, rushes to comply. The foundation of all authoritative declaration is unwavering faith. This is not a surface-level optimism, but a deep, inner knowing that resonates through every fiber of your being. It is the faith of one who has glimpsed their own divine inheritance, who recognizes that they are not separate from the source of all supply, but intrinsically connected to it. This conviction cannot be faked or manufactured through willpower alone. It is cultivated through conscious recognition of your spiritual identity and the practice of aligning your thoughts, words, and actions with truth. Preparation is essential. Before you declare your good, cleanse the channel. Forgive everyone, including yourself, for all past mistakes with money or opportunity. Bitterness clogs the current. Resentment distorts your tone. When you forgive, your voice rings true, and truth commands instant recognition in the unseen. Say, I fully release the past. I am unburdened, and my word is established by divine law. Then declare the essence of what is rightfully yours without outlining the method or the means. The method belongs to the infinite. Your task is to call forth the end state and trust the orchestration. The ideal declaration is concise, present, and righteous. Concise because law does not require ornament to stand. Present because your good is now, not in some shifting tomorrow that never arrives. Righteous because it claims what is yours by divine right and harms no one. Always seal your word with under grace, in perfect order, which ensures that your good comes without force, struggle, or cost to another. Once you have spoken your word with authority, your work is to keep your speech aligned with your decree. Do not contradict your declaration with idle talk of lack, fear, or delay. If you catch yourself falling into old patterns, I'm always behind, money slips through my fingers, nothing ever works. Out, cancel those sentences at once. Say, I nullify every idle word of lack I have spoken. They are powerless to operate. I now speak abundance, and only abundance is established. This act clears the weeds from the garden before they can root. Patience is part of the process. You cannot dig up your harvest each morning to check whether it is sprouting. Decree, and then let the soil do its work. Anxiety is a hand that keeps disturbing the seed. Live your day as if your word is already bearing fruit in a garden you will soon see. Make sensible, honorable choices that match your decree. If you have announced abundance, walk with order, generosity, and dignity. If you have declared guidance, stop saying, I don't know what to do, and start saying, I hear clearly and obey promptly. The tongue must match the throne. Let me illustrate. A merchant, heavy with worry, had been declaring to all who would listen that trade is slow. His words, repeated with conviction, had carved a mold of scarcity, and the universe, ever obedient, filled it precisely. I invited him to take back his authority. Stop announcing famine and call forth your harvest. He stood in his office, placed his hand upon the ledger that had become a symbol of his lack, and declared, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity. There is an immediate and continuous avalanche of customers who are delighted to pay for my services, and I am guided to serve them with excellence. He spoke at once, then guarded his mouth. When others tried to draw him into talk of recession, he replied only, My affairs are governed by divine law, and I prosper under grace. Within days, dormant clients returned. New opportunities arose, and his so-called luck reversed. But it was not chance, it was the fulfillment of law. Bless everything in your financial world, your wallet, your bank account, your invoices, your meals, your home. Each blessing is a word of authority that lifts an object or transaction into the realm of grace. When you release money, say, I bless this money as it goes forth to multiply good and return to me increased, under grace. When you receive, say, I am grateful for this evidence of unlimited supply. Gratitude is a key that opens many locked doors, for it affirms that the thing is already done. Order is the ally of authority. Place your affairs in order, clear your desk, file your accounts, create a sanctified space for your financial dealings. Each act of order signals to your subconscious that you are prepared to receive. After your decree, listen for the still, small voice of intuitive guidance. Sometimes the next step will be revealed. A call to make. a letter to send, a new skill to learn. Your declaration summons the ladder, your obedience climbs it. Guard the gates of your lips. You owe no one a recital of your challenges. If a friend insists on rehearsing misfortune, bless them inwardly and lift the tone. I understand the falons of comedy, appearance, and I also know that divine order is at work for you swiftly and beautifully. Your calm confidence will often do for others what you have done for yourself. Set law in motion. At the very heart of this law is identity. Kings do not beg at their own treasuries. Heirs do not tremble before the storehouse of their inheritance. You speak with authority when you remember who you are. A spiritual being in a universe of law, equipped with a voice that shapes substance. Use that voice with kindness, clarity, and conviction. Announce your good, and refuse to take it back. If your confidence wavers, do not scold yourself, steady yourself. Sit in silence, breathe, forgive again, and speak again from the center. Let your declaration be your axis, the fixed point around which circumstances spin and settle. When doubt knocks, let your word answer. When appearances startle, let your word soothe. Each morning, present your day to law with a sentence that crowns it. This day is ordered. For my increase, perfect people and perfect ideas arrive. I move in ease and receive with joy, under grace, in perfect ways. Proceed, speaking only what you wish to meet on your path. The road will rise to your words, for words spoken with divine authority are not mere sounds. They are the summons by which your wealth and freedom find you. There exists, beyond the veil of material appearances, a vast and inexhaustible reservoir of abundance that knows neither seasons of scarcity nor cycles of depletion. This is the invisible supply, the eternal wellspring from which all earthly wealth flows, the infinite source that stands behind every dollar earned, every opportunity seized, every unexpected blessing that graces human experience. To recognize this limitless, invisible supply is to step out of the prison of dependency upon finite channels and into the freedom of drawing from a well that never runs dry, a treasury that never empties, a spring that flows more abundantly, the more freely, till you drink from it. The great tragedy of human experience is that most people spend their entire lives mistaking the messenger for the message, the channel for the source, the pipe for the water itself. They fix their anxious gaze upon their employer, their business, their investments, their family connections, never realizing that these are merely the temporary vessels through which their permanent good flows. Like a person standing beside a magnificent ocean yet declaring their supply to be the small cup they hold in their hands, they limit their infinite inheritance to the finite channels they can see and understand. Your employer is not your source, your employer is a channel. Your business is not your source, your business is a channel. Your investments, your clients, your family wealth, even the money in your bank account, all of these are channels, temporary and changeable, through which the unchanging, eternal supply of the infinite expresses itself in your experience. The moment you mistake any channel for the source itself, you create a dependency that breeds fear, anxiety, and the constant worry that your good might be taken from you. But when you recognize that your true source is the limitless, invisible supply of divine abundance, you rest in the unshakable knowledge that if one channel closes, 1,000 others stand ready to open, often in ways more perfect and abundant than you could have imagined. Consider the lilies of the field, which neither toil nor spin yet are arrayed in glory, surpassing the finest human creations. These flowers do not panic when winter approaches, for they trust completely in the invisible supply of earth and sun and rain that sustains them. They do not compete with neighboring blooms or hoard nutrients against future scarcity. They simply open to receive what is freely given, and that supply never fails them. You, as a spiritual being created in the image of infinite abundance, have access to a supply infinitely greater than that which sustains the lilies. Yet how often do you trust it less than they trust theirs? The invisible supply operates according to spiritual law, not economic theory. It is not subject to inflation or recession, to market crashes or business failures. It does not decrease when you draw from it, rather, like a spring that flows more freely when its outlet is cleared, the invisible supply increases its flow in direct proportion to your recognition and acceptance of it. This is why some people prosper magnificently in times of general hardship, while others struggle even in periods of apparent abundance. External conditions are merely the stage upon which the drama of consciousness plays out. And consciousness aligned with invisible supply creates prosperity regardless of the economic weather. A merchant once came to me, heavy with worry, declaring to all who would listen that trade is slow, customers are scarce, money is tight. His words, repeated with such conviction, had carved a perfect mold of scarcity in consciousness, and the universe, ever obedient to law, had filled that mold precisely. I invited him to recognize his error and reclaim his authority. Stop announcing famine and call forth your harvest, I counseled. He stood in his office, placed his hand upon the ledger that had become a symbol of his lack, and declared with quiet authority, I have a lavish, steady, dependable income, consistent with integrity and honor. There is an immediate and continuous flow of customers who are delighted to pay for my excellent services, and I am guided to serve them with joy and wisdom. He spoke at once with complete conviction, then guarded his words carefully. When others tried to draw him into conversations about economic difficulties, he replied simply, My affairs are governed by divine law, and I prosper under grace. Within days, dormant clients returned with new orders, unexpected referrals arrived, and his entire business transformed. This was not luck or coincidence. This was the precise fulfillment of spiritual law responding to his recognition of invisible supply. The shift from channel consciousness to source consciousness requires a fundamental transformation in how you think about wealth and security. Instead of asking, Where will my money come from? You begin to declare, My money flows to me now, from the infinite source through perfect channels. Instead of fearing the loss of particular income streams, you rest in the knowledge that your true source can never be threatened or diminished. Instead of competing with others for supposedly limited resources, you realize that everyone's supply is individual and infinite. Another person's prosperity does not reduce your own any more than their breathing diminishes the air available to you. This recognition transforms your relationship with money from grasping to graceful circulation. You stop hoarding from fear and begin circulating from wisdom. When you pay bills, you bless each payment. I bless this money as it flows forth to multiply good and return to me increased under grace. When you receive income, you declare, I give thanks for this evidence of my unlimited supply. More flows to me now through perfect channels. You become a steward rather than a worrier, understanding that the river of abundance cannot stagnate without becoming stagnant. It must move to remain pure and powerful. The invisible supply delights in surprising you with its infinite creativity. Sometimes your good comes through expected channels, a raise, a new client, a profitable investment. But just as often, it manifests through means that could never have been predicted. An old debt suddenly repaid, an unexpected gift, a chance meeting that opens new doors, a mistake that turns into a windfall, a delay that prevents a loss. The supply is infinitely resourceful in finding ways to reach you, and it takes particular joy in demonstrating that your good is not limited to the narrow pathways your human mind can envision. This is why it is so important never to outline the method when you declare your prosperity. Do not say, my employer must give me a raise, but rather, my income increases now through perfect divine channels. Do not insist, this particular investment must succeed, but affirm, my wealth multiplies through divine guidance and perfect opportunities. The moment you limit your good to specific channels, you close off the countless other avenues through which it might flow to you more easily and abundantly. To cultivate practical recognition of invisible supply, begin each day by acknowledging your connection to unlimited abundance. Stand before your mirror and declare with quiet authority, "My supply comes from the infinite. I am connected to inexhaustible riches. Perfect channels open now for my complete prosperity." Throughout the day, when you witness others receiving good fortune, bless it and know that the same source is available to you. When you encounter apparent lack or limitation, remember that it represents a temporary disconnection from supply, not an absence of supply itself. Create what might be called a prosperity sanctuary, a clean, orderly space where you handle your financial affairs. Keep your accounts in truth, your papers organized, your declarations visible. This physical order reflects and reinforces the spiritual order you are establishing in consciousness. Each act of organization is a signal to your subconscious mind that you are prepared to receive greater abundance. Practice seeing evidence of infinite supply everywhere around you. Notice the lavish display of nature, the countless leaves on trees, the endless grains of sand on beaches, the numberless stars in the sky. All of this profusion springs from the same invisible source that supplies your needs. If the universe can maintain such boundless abundance in the natural world, surely it can provide for your simple human requirements with perfect ease. When fear of scarcity arises, and it may, for old habits die slowly, do not wrestle with it or condemn yourself for its appearance. Simply bless it and replace it with truth. I release all fear of lack, for lack has no law to support it. My supply is spiritual, inexhaustible, and immediate. I do not outline the channels. I simply accept my good now, under grace, in perfect ways. Then take one guided action, perhaps organizing a drawer, making a phone call, or offering a small gift to someone to anchor your consciousness in the truth of abundance. Release all attachment to specific channels while blessing them for their service. If a job ends, bless it and everyone involved, knowing that it has fulfilled its purpose in bringing you to this new point of greater opportunity. If a client departs, release them with gratitude, understanding that their leaving creates space for even better relationships to enter. Resentment binds you to dried up streams. Blessing frees you to discover the flowing river that awaits your recognition. The invisible supply is impersonal. In the most wonderful sense, it holds no grudges, makes no moral judgments about worthiness, and plays no favorites. It flows as freely to the reformed sinner as to the lifelong saint, as abundantly to the unschooled as to the educated, as readily to the young as to the elderly. The only requirement is recognition and acceptance. When you align your consciousness with the truth of unlimited supply, you tap into a source that has been waiting throughout eternity to express itself as your complete prosperity, perfect freedom, and joyous abundance in every area of your life. In the magnificent architecture of creation, there exists a fundamental principle that governs every manifestation of abundance, from the smallest blessing to the greatest fortune. This is the law of circulation, the divine ordinance that declares all good must flow freely to multiply, that wealth must move to remain vital, and that the very act of giving and receiving creates the channels through which prosperity expands beyond all human imagination. Like the mighty rivers that carve canyons and nourish continents, abundance is a living current that grows stronger and more powerful the more freely it is allowed to flow through your life. Water, when it flows freely down mountainsides and through valleys, remains pure, clear, and life-giving. It carves new channels, deposits rich soil, and sustains all manner of life along its banks. But when water becomes trapped behind barriers or held motionless in closed containers, it grows stagnant, develops an unpleasant taste, and eventually becomes poisonous to all who would drink from it. Money and all forms of good operate according to this same immutable natural law. When wealth flows through your life with ease and joy, coming in through channels of inspired service and flowing out through channels of wisdom, generosity, and joyful exchange, it remains vibrant, magnetic, and ever-increasing. But when fear causes you to dam up the flow through hoarding, resentment, or miserly grasping, The very thing you seek to preserve becomes corrupted, diminished, and ultimately lost. The law of circulation operates through two complementary and inseparable movements: the sacred rhythm of receiving and giving, of breathing in abundance and breathing out blessing. Most people focus exclusively on the inflow, desperately trying to accumulate wealth while simultaneously blocking its natural circulation through fear-based withholding. This creates what might be called a spiritual constipation that chokes off the very supply they are trying to increase. True prosperity consciousness understands that the outflow is just as essential as the inflow, that giving and receiving are two faces of the same golden coin, and that the person who learns to circulate wealth wisely will always have more than enough for every good purpose. Consider the blood that flows through your body, carrying life and vitality to every cell. This blood must circulate continuously, flowing out from the heart to nourish the extremities, then returning enriched with new elements to be purified and sent forth again. If the circulation stops, if the blood becomes trapped in any part of the body, that part begins to die. Your financial life operates according to this same principle. Money must flow out in service, in generosity, in wise investment, and in joyful spending, just as surely as it must flow in through your various channels of income. The moment you attempt to stop this circulation through fear or greed, you begin to cut off your own supply. Non-resistance is the spiritual key that unlocks the floodgates of circulation, the master principle that keeps the channels of abundance flowing freely and without obstruction. Resistance, in all its myriad forms, creates friction in the flow of prosperity. When you resist paying bills, you create resistance to receiving money. When you resent others' success, you block your own. When you hold grudges against those who have disappointed you financially, you literally bind your own supply with invisible chains of bitterness. When you cling desperately to what you have from fear of loss, you signal the universe that you believe in scarcity rather than abundance, and the universe, ever responsive to your deepest beliefs, begins to manifest the very lack you fear. Resistance manifests in countless subtle ways that most people never recognize. It appears as the sigh of reluctance when paying rent, the pang of resentment when a client is slow to pay, the jealous twinge when witnessing another's good fortune, the fearful clutching of resources against imagined future scarcity. Each of these emotional responses creates a small dam in the river of your prosperity, and accumulated over time, these tiny obstructions can reduce the mightiest flow to a mere trickle. Forgiveness is the master key that dissolves all resistance to abundance, the divine solvent that melts away every obstruction in the channel of your good. Every person who has ever disappointed you financially, every business deal that went sour, every employer who treated you unfairly, every friend who failed to repay a loan, every family member who denied you support, all of these experiences have created knots in the rope of your prosperity. Forgiveness unties these knots instantly and completely, allowing the current of abundance to flow freely once again. This is not merely a moral platitude, but a practical spiritual law, as precise as any physical law. You cannot receive freely while you withhold forgiveness, any more than you can breathe in while holding your breath out. The practice of forgiveness for financial freedom requires both precision and persistence. Sit quietly in a sacred space and bring to mind everyone connected with your financial experiences, past employers who disappointed you, business partners who betrayed your trust, clients who failed to pay, debtors who vanished, family members who withheld support, even yourself for perceived mistakes or missed opportunities. To each person, say with genuine intention and feeling, "I fully and freely forgive you. I release all resentment, all disappointment, all sense of injustice. I bless you and wish you well. You are free, and I am free." Feel the immediate lightening that occurs as these psychic chains dissolve, as the burden lifts from your shoulders and the channel clears. Then declare with authority, "My financial channels are now clear and open. Money flows to me easily and joyfully through perfect people and perfect opportunities, under grace, in perfect ways. A woman once came to me whose business had failed spectacularly, leaving her not only financially depleted, but emotionally poisoned by resentment toward the partner who had betrayed her trust. For months, she had rehearsed her grievances, polished her arguments, and fed her anger until it had grown into a consuming fire that burned away every new opportunity that tried to approach her. When I explained the law of circulation and the necessity of forgiveness, she protested vehemently. "But he took everything. If I forgive him, doesn't that mean he wins?" I replied gently, "My dear, your resentment is not punishing him, it is imprisoning you. He is living his life while you remain chained to a dead past. Forgive him not for his sake, but for your freedom." She performed the work of forgiveness with tears and trembling, releasing years of accumulated bitterness like a dam finally giving way to the flood. Within days, her energy shifted dramatically. Her confidence returned, and new opportunities began appearing as if summoned by an invisible hand. Within months, she had not only recovered her losses, but had built a more successful enterprise than she had ever imagined possible. The money she thought her partner had stolen was nothing compared to the abundance she had been blocking through her own resistance. The transformation of bill paying from an act of depletion into an act of circulation represents one of the most powerful practical applications of this law. For most people, paying bills is a moment of dread, of resentment, a feeling of loss and diminishment. They pay their rent or mortgage with a sigh, their utility bills with a grumble, never realizing that each payment is a golden opportunity to set the law of circulation in motion for their greater good. When you pay a bill, you are not losing money, you are completing a sacred cycle of exchange. You are receiving valuable services, shelter, light, warmth, communication, transportation, and you are sending forth energy in return. If you send it forth with resentment, you are impregnating that energy with a negative vibration that will, by immutable law, return to you in kind. But if you bless the money as it leaves your hand, saying with genuine feeling, "I bless this money and the excellent service it represents. I am grateful for the value I have received. This money goes forth to multiply good and returns to me, increased, under grace, in perfect ways." You are setting in motion a powerful current of abundance. You are acknowledging the flow, affirming your belief in endless supply, and commanding that the stream return to you more abundant than before. There was a merchant who had fallen into the habit of cursing his expenses, complaining bitterly about every bill that arrived, and paying his obligations with such resentment that his very countenance grew sour. His business, reflecting his consciousness, began to decline steadily. Customers became scarce, payments were delayed, and unexpected expenses multiplied like weeds in an untended garden. When I suggested he transform his relationship with his outgoing money, he initially resisted. "Why should I bless money that's leaving me?" he demanded. I explained that money, like everything else in the universe, responds to the consciousness with which it is handled. He agreed to try the experiment. The very next time he paid his rent, instead of his usual grumbling, he said aloud, "I bless this payment and give thanks for the excellent space it provides for my business. This money circulates to create good and returns to me multiplied." He blessed each subsequent payment in similar fashion. Within weeks, his entire experience began to shift. New customers appeared as if drawn by an invisible magnet, old accounts were settled promptly, and opportunities for expansion presented themselves. The same money that had felt like a burden when sent forth with resentment became a messenger of good when released with blessing. Generous giving is perhaps the most powerful accelerator of circulation, the practice that most clearly demonstrates your faith in unlimited supply and most rapidly opens new channels for abundance to flow into your life. When you give freely and joyfully, whether money, time, talents, or simple kindness, you declare to the universe that you trust completely in the inexhaustible nature of your supply. You prove through action that you are not operating from scarcity consciousness, but from abundance consciousness. The universe, recognizing this demonstration of faith, responds by opening wider and wider channels through which your good can flow. But giving must be done with wisdom and joy, not from guilt, manipulation, or the desire to impress others. True spiritual giving springs from inspiration and love, not from obligation or fear. Give where you feel spiritually nourished, to the teacher who has illuminated your path, the organization that serves a cause close to your heart, the person whose genuine need touches your soul. Give what you can give with authentic pleasure, not what you feel you should give from duty or social pressure. A small gift, given with love and joy, creates more spiritual circulation than a large gift given grudgingly from obligation. The amount matters far less than the consciousness with which it is given. Set aside a portion of every sum you receive, however modest, to give where you feel spiritually fed or practically moved. This sacred practice, often called tithing, fixes the idea of abundance in your subconscious mind and demonstrates your unwavering faith in continuous supply. As you give, speak the word of authority. I bless this gift as it goes forth to multiply good. It returns to me, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, under grace, in perfect ways. Your blessing sets your gift on a golden pathway and instructs it to find you again with abundant companions. Gratitude serves as the golden oil that lubricates all the machinery of circulation, transforming every transaction from a potential source of resistance into an opportunity for increased flow. When you approach each financial exchange with genuine appreciation, rather than reluctance or resentment, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of universal giving and receiving. Express heartfelt gratitude when money comes to you. Thank you, Divine Source, for this evidence of my unlimited supply. More flows to me now through perfect channels. Speak words of blessing when money flows from you. I am grateful for the value I have received. I bless this exchange and everyone it touches. Create what might be called a prosperity sanctuary, a clean, orderly space where you handle your financial affairs with reverence and respect. Keep your accounts in perfect truth, your papers organized with care, your declarations visible as daily reminders. This physical order reflects and reinforces the spiritual order you are establishing in consciousness. Each act of organization is a signal to your subconscious mind that you are prepared to receive and steward greater abundance. Order is a powerful ally of circulation because disorder creates confusion and resistance that block the natural flow of prosperity. Practice conscious circulation in small ways throughout each day, for these seemingly minor acts create the foundation for major manifestations. Hold doors for strangers. Offer genuine compliments, share helpful information, express appreciation for good service. Each act of circulation, however small, reinforces your consciousness of abundance and keeps the channels of your prosperity flowing freely. When you circulate praise, appreciation, and encouragement, these qualities return to you multiplied. When you circulate love, kindness, and blessing, you set in motion currents of good that will eventually flow back to you in forms you could never have anticipated. Guard your words about money as carefully as you would guard precious jewels. For every word you speak either reinforces or contradicts the law of circulation you are seeking to establish. Replace "I can't afford it" with "I choose to invest my money elsewhere." Transform "money is tight" into "money flows to me easily and continuously." Change "I'm broke" to "I am rich in infinite possibilities." When others attempt to draw you into conversations about economic difficulties or financial lack, lift the tone with responses like, "My affairs are governed by divine law, and I prosper under grace." Or, "I understand appearances, but I know that abundance is the natural order of the universe." When money comes to you, receive it with joy and gratitude, but do not clutch it with desperate fingers. Let it rest in your hands like a bird that will fly away if grasped too tightly but will stay and multiply if held with gentle appreciation. Save wisely, invest prudently, spend joyfully, and give generously, always remembering that money is not your master but your servant, not your security but your tool for creating greater good in the world. Release all attachment to specific amounts, specific sources, and specific timelines, for attachment creates resistance, while detachment creates flow. Trust that the law of circulation is working perfectly in your life, bringing you exactly what you need when you need it, often in ways that surprise and delight you. Your part is to keep the channels clear through forgiveness, gratitude, and generous circulation, and to trust that the infinite intelligence that governs the spinning of planets and the blooming of flowers knows how to manage your financial affairs far better than your worried human mind ever could. Practice daily the powerful declaration that unties every knot of resistance. I am non-resistant to all good. I forgive everyone and everything completely. I give freely and receive lavishly. My supply is endless and immediate. All that is mine by divine right now flows to me through rich and perfect channels, under grace, in perfect ways. Then live as if these words were already manifest in your experience, for in the invisible realm of spirit, they already are. Pay one bill with joy, give one gift with love, clear one drawer with care, bless one seeming enemy with sincerity, and take one guided action that your inner wisdom suggests. Each act widens the riverbed of your prosperity, and the waters of abundance rise to meet your faith. Once you have spoken your word with the absolute authority of one who knows their divine birthright, a new and equally sacred phase begins. This is the cultivation of expectant faith, not the trembling hope of one who wishes something might happen, but the unshakable confidence of one who knows with absolute certainty that what has been declared in the invisible realm must manifest in the visible world. It is the faith of a gardener who plants seeds in spring, not because they can see the harvest, but because they understand the immutable laws of growth and trust completely that the proper conditions will yield the expected result. Most people, after making their declaration, immediately fall prey to the insidious traps of doubt and impatience. They declare their good with great conviction, then spend their days peering anxiously into the future, wondering when it will come, how it will happen, whether it is really working. This anxious questioning is like planting a seed and then digging it up every morning to check if it has sprouted. Such interference invariably destroys the very growth it seeks to observe. Expectant faith, by contrast, is the quiet, composed certainty that understands the spiritual law is as reliable as any natural law, and what has been set in motion through authoritative declaration must come to completion. Faith is not a tremulous hope, it is the substance of the thing before the thing appears. True expectant faith operates from the recognition that the spiritual realm is the realm of cause, while the physical world is merely the realm of effect. When you declare your good with complete conviction, you are working in the dimension of cause, setting spiritual law into motion with the privation hymn, same precision that a mathematician applies a formula. The manifestation in the outer world is simply the inevitable effect of the spiritual work you have already accomplished. This understanding transforms your entire relationship with waiting, with apparent delays, with the temporary gap between declaration and demonstration. Divine timing is not delay, it is orchestration. Just as a master conductor knows that each instrument must enter at precisely the right moment to create perfect harmony, the infinite intelligence that governs all manifestation coordinates people, places, resources, and opportunities with flawless precision to bring about your highest good. What appears to human impatience as postponement is actually the careful preparation of all conditions necessary for your complete and lasting success. The universe sees the entire symphony while you hear only individual notes, and it arranges each movement for maximum beauty and benefit. Consider the story of a young man who, having declared his desire for a substantial sum to launch his venture, held his mental picture with great enthusiasm. He could see himself in his new office, signing contracts, celebrating success. However, He made a critical error. He fixed a rigid deadline, declaring, "It must come by the 1st of next month, or it's too late." As his self-imposed deadline approached with no visible results, he grew anxious, then despondent, finally concluding that the law had failed him. Yet precisely 3 weeks after his arbitrary deadline, the exact sum he had declared arrived through channels he could never have anticipated. A forgotten inheritance combined with an unsolicited partnership offer from someone who had admired his work for years. His anxiety and rigid timeline had not prevented his good from coming, but they had certainly robbed him of the peace and joy that should have accompanied its arrival. This illustrates the folly of attempting to outline the methods and timing of your demonstration. The human mind, in its limited capacity, tries to dictate how and when the good should appear, saying, "It must come through this person," or "It must happen by this date," or "This particular opportunity is the only way." But the infinite intelligence operates on a scale far grander than human comprehension. It sees countless pathways, intricate connections between seemingly unrelated events, and possibilities that exist beyond the narrow scope of mortal vision. When you attempt to limit the boundless creativity of the infinite to your preconceived notions, you create resistance and delay, forcing the universe to work around your restrictions rather than flowing through the path of least resistance. Your part, after making your declaration, is to hold the perfect mental picture without anxiety about methods or timing. See yourself already in possession of the wealth, health, or happiness you have claimed. Feel the emotions of gratitude and joy that would accompany its presence. Live from that future reality now, not as something you hope will happen, but as something that is already accomplished in the invisible and is simply awaiting its perfect moment of revelation. This is what might be called living from the end, conducting yourself with the quiet dignity of one whose prayers have already been answered while remaining peacefully detached from the specific form the answer will take. The universe communicates the next steps through the still, small voice of intuitive guidance. Once your declaration is made, listen carefully for inner promptings, sudden ideas, or strong feelings to move in particular directions. These are not random thoughts but divine instructions, the breadcrumbs leading you to your manifestation. Your task is to obey these promptings immediately and without question, even when they seem illogical to your rational mind. A woman who had declared her desire for the perfect home found herself constantly scanning real estate, listings, and growing, discouraged by prices that seemed beyond her reach. One morning, she experienced a sudden, inexplicable urge to drive down a street she rarely frequented. Her rational mind dismissed the impulse, but the inner prompting persisted. She followed the guidance and noticed an old, seemingly dilapidated house with a for sale sign. Despite its outward appearance, something drew her to call the agent. The property was grossly undervalued due to cosmetic issues, and the owner was desperate for a quick sale. With modest renovation, it became exactly the home she had envisioned at a price she could easily afford. Had she ignored that intuitive nudge or insisted her home must appear through conventional channels, she would have missed her perfect demonstration entirely. There comes what might be called the dark hour before dawn, that testing period when outer conditions seem to worsen just before the breakthrough arrives. This is a natural part of the manifestation process, as old patterns dissolve to make way for new ones, as stagnant situations are stirred before they clear, as the universe makes final adjustments for your perfect demonstration. During these challenging moments, your faith must become like a lighthouse, steady and unwavering, sending out its beam of confidence regardless of the storms that rage around it. This is when you prove to yourself and to the universe that your faith is not dependent upon appearances, but is rooted in unshakable knowledge of spiritual law. To maintain expectant faith during these testing times, create what might be called a faith anchor, a physical reminder of your demonstration that you can see or touch whenever confidence wavers. This might be a written copy of your declaration, a picture representing your fulfilled desire, or simply a small object designated as a symbol of your unwavering trust. When appearances suggest delay or difficulty, hold this anchor and declare with quiet authority, "This represents my completed demonstration. What is mine by divine right cannot be withheld from me. I rest in perfect faith and divine timing." Daily practice sustains expectant faith through the inevitable fluctuations of human emotion and circumstance. Each morning, before the day's activities begin, sit quietly and connect with the truth of your already completed demonstration. Speak with deep conviction. "I give thanks that my good is already accomplished in the invisible realm. It now manifests in perfect ways and perfect timing, under grace, for the highest good of all concerned." Throughout the day, when doubt or impatience attempts to disturb your peace, return immediately to this truth. Remind yourself that spiritual law is as reliable as gravity, that what has been set in motion must reach completion, that your part is simply to maintain the consciousness that allows it to unfold. Guard your words as carefully as you would guard precious jewels, for every statement you make either reinforces or contradicts your declaration. When you find yourself saying, "It's taking too long," or "Nothing ever works for me," you are speaking against your own demonstration. Instead, declare with calm authority, "My results are assured. Divine timing is perfect timing. What is mine by divine right comes to me now, under grace, in perfect order." When others attempt to draw you into conversations about delays or difficulties, offer a higher word. "I understand appearances, but I know that divine law is operating for me swiftly and beautifully." Patience becomes not passive resignation, but active confidence when you understand divine timing. True spiritual patience is the joyful anticipation of perfect fulfillment, like the patience of a master chef who knows that certain dishes cannot be rushed, that the finest flavors develop only through proper timing, and that the wait is always rewarded with something far more delicious than anything produced through haste. Your demonstrations are being prepared in the invisible kitchen of spirit with the same careful attention to perfect timing. Release every form of forcing, for forcing is fear masquerading as initiative. True initiative flows from guidance and feels buoyant and clean, while forcing creates tension and strain. When you detect force in your intention, pause and speak, "I release this to higher wisdom. If this is mine by divine right, it comes easily. If not, something better arrives." Then shift your attention to the next simple, clear task before you, trusting that life will reorient you to the perfect path without struggle. Prepare actively for your demonstration's arrival by organizing your environment and affairs. Clear space for the good you have declared. Prepare the drawer for the contract you expect to sign. Block time in your calendar for the client you expect to serve. Arrange the corner of your home for the furniture you expect to receive. When you prepare a place, you send a silent summons to your good. The universe delights in readiness, for readiness is faith in action. Give thanks for partial manifestations and small signs of progress. When you declare abundant income and receive an unexpected small credit, bless it and say, "This is the first fruit of my harvest. More of this flows to me now, under grace." Small streams unite into mighty rivers when you install gratitude at every confluence. The universe matches your consciousness exactly, giving you precisely what you truly believe you deserve to receive. Learn to recognize the subtle signs that your demonstration approaches manifestation. These may appear as increased synchronicities, unexpected meetings with helpful people, sudden inspirations about actions to take, or simply a growing sense of excitement that seems to come from nowhere. These are not coincidences but natural precursors of answered prayer, gentle stirrings indicating the invisible is preparing to become visible. When you notice these signs, increase your gratitude and expectancy, for they signal that harvest time draws near. Hold this royal stance throughout your demonstration period. You walk by revelation, not by reaction. Reaction scrambles timing, while revelation aligns it perfectly. Begin each day, not with anxious checking of external conditions, but with the good news you decree for your experience. End each day, blessing the hours behind you and consecrating the hours ahead. In this way, you become a living instrument of perfect timing, and your affairs arrange themselves with a grace that appears miraculous to observers, while you recognize it as the natural operation of spiritual law. Your true work, after making your declaration, is to become a clear and open channel for receiving. Keep your consciousness elevated, your thoughts aligned with your declared good, and your heart filled with gratitude for what is already yours in the invisible. Live with joyful anticipation, as if expecting a beloved guest who is certain to arrive. What is yours by divine right comes to you now, under grace, in perfect order, as you maintain expectant faith and trust completely in the impeccable orchestration of infinite wisdom. There exists a magnificent truth that, once fully grasped, transforms your entire relationship with abundance forever. Wealth is not something you earn through struggle, merit through good deeds, or acquire through clever manipulation of circumstances. It is your divine inheritance, a birthright as natural and automatic as your right to breathe the air that surrounds you. Like a prince who has forgotten his royal lineage and lives as a beggar in the streets of his own kingdom, you may have wandered far from the recognition of your true nature, but your inheritance remains intact, waiting patiently for your remembrance and acceptance. The great tragedy of human experience is not that people lack abundance, it is that they have forgotten who they are. They approach prosperity as beggars approach a feast, grateful for crumbs, fearful of asking for more, convinced they must earn their way to abundance through endless toil. Yet all the while, a banquet table is laid with their name engraved upon the place card, and the host waits only for them to take their rightful seat. You are not a mortal being having occasional spiritual experiences. You are a spiritual being temporarily expressing through mortal form, and as such, you carry within your very essence the same creative power that sustains the universe. Consider the heir to a vast fortune who, through some accident or deception, has been raised in poverty, never knowing of the treasure that awaits their claim. Though they may struggle and scrimp, worry about tomorrow's bread and tonight's shelter, their inheritance sits secure in trust, accumulating interest, waiting only for the day when they discover their true identity and step forward to claim what has always been theirs. No amount of poverty can diminish that inheritance, no creditor can touch it, no economic disaster can destroy it. It exists independent of their knowledge or acceptance of it, but it can benefit them only when they recognize and claim it. This is precisely your relationship to the infinite abundance that is your spiritual birthright. The universe holds in trust for you riches beyond calculation, not only material wealth, but perfect health, harmonious relationships, meaningful work, creative fulfillment, and joyous self-expression. These treasures do not exist in some distant heaven to be enjoyed after death, nor are they reserved for a chosen few who have somehow proven themselves worthy. They are your present inheritance, available now, waiting only for your recognition and acceptance. The shift from laborer consciousness to heir consciousness represents the most fundamental transformation you can make in your relationship with prosperity. A laborer works from lack, believing resources are limited and must be fought for through sweat and struggle. An heir operates from abundance, understanding that their supply is guaranteed and flows through channels of grace rather than channels of strain. A laborer asks, "How can I earn enough?" An heir declares, "I now accept my unlimited good." A laborer fears the loss of income streams. An heir trusts that new channels will always open as needed. A woman once came to me, burdened by years of financial strain despite working tirelessly, often holding 2 jobs, yet her bank account remained perpetually meager. She saw herself as hardworking and honest, but her underlying belief was that she had to work herself to the bone to deserve any money. I explained to her that she was not a servant in the universe, but an heir. Her struggle was not a requirement for wealth, but a reflection of her belief system. I encouraged her to shift her declaration from, "I must work hard for my money," to, "I now claim my divine inheritance of lavish supply, which flows to me easily and continuously through perfect channels, under grace." She began to visualize herself not as a weary laborer, but as a queen, receiving gifts and blessings with dignity and gratitude. Within months, an unexpected family inheritance materialized, far exceeding anything she could have earned through her previous efforts, and a new, less demanding, yet much more lucrative opportunity presented itself. She had not earned this new wealth in the traditional sense. She had claimed it by recognizing her true identity. The universe, in its infinite wisdom and generosity, has already prepared your good. This means that the resources, the opportunities, the people, the ideas, all the necessary components for your complete prosperity are already in place, waiting for your conscious acceptance to coalesce into your reality. When you declare your unlimited prosperity, you are not asking for something new to be created. You are accepting something that already exists to potential. This understanding removes the burden of creation from your shoulders and transforms your journey from anxious striving to joyous receiving. To claim your divine inheritance, you must first release the chief thieves that block your good, guilt and unworthiness. Guilt whispers, "I do not deserve this." Unworthiness sighs, "Others may prosper, but not I." These two conspirators draft laws that never existed and then punish you for breaking them. They have no power except the power you grant them. Dissolve them with the sword of truth. Speak with authority. "I fully and freely forgive myself for every mistake, known and unknown. I am cleansed by grace. I am worthy now because I am one with the infinite. My good is not earned. It is recognized and received." As you withdraw consent from the lie of unworthiness, the seals break, the doors swing open, and the couriers of good begin to arrive with packages long delayed. Another subtle robber is fear of wealth itself, the belief that money corrupts, distances, or diminishes the soul. This belief binds the hands of the giver and muzzles the mouth of the receiver. Money, like electricity, is neutral power. It lights a home or burns a house according to the wisdom with which it is directed. When you claim wealth as your divine inheritance, you also consecrate it to divine use. Declare, "I am a clear steward of abundance. Money in my hands blesses all it touches. It circulates to uplift, to create, to heal, to bring beauty and freedom, and it returns to me multiplied, under grace, in perfect order." The act of claiming requires a fundamental change of identity, the inner name by which you call yourself. Are you the struggler, the one who always almost makes it, the responsible one who must carry everyone, the giver who cannot receive? These names bind like contracts. Renounce them completely. Assume your true title. Say with quiet authority, "I am the heir to infinite riches. I am supplied, supported, and surrounded by abundance at all times. I move in prepared paths. The doors that are mine by divine right stand open, and I enter with grace and gratitude." Identity is the mold into which supply must pour. If you maintain the identity of a beggar, the universe must fill that mold. If you hold the consciousness of an heir, the universe must match that elevated picture. Create what might be called an inheritance ceremony, a sacred ritual that acknowledges your spiritual birthright and formally claims your divine abundance. Choose a quiet time when you will not be disturbed and prepare a space that feels sacred to you. Light a candle to represent the illumination of truth and place before you any symbols of abundance that inspire you, perhaps coins, crystals, or pictures of prosperity. Sit in this space and speak aloud with deep conviction. "I now acknowledge my true identity as a spiritual being, heir to all the riches of the universe. I claim my divine inheritance of unlimited abundance. I accept my birthright of perfect prosperity. What is mine by divine right comes to me now, under grace, in perfect order." Feel these words resonate through every cell of your being, awakening the sleeping recognition of your true nature. The claiming of your inheritance must extend beyond ceremony into daily recognition and acceptance. Each morning, before engaging with the world's affairs, spend a few moments in conscious acknowledgement of your divine nature. Stand before your mirror and declare with quiet authority, I am abundance, I am prosperity, I am the very substance of wealth expressing in perfect form. My inheritance is unlimited, and I claim it now. Throughout the day, when faced with apparent lack or limitation, return immediately to this truth. This appearance has no power over me. I am heir to infinite riches, and my inheritance manifests now. The act of claiming is completed in the invisible, and then lived in the visible through what might be called the three pillars of inheritance: order, obedience, and overflow. Order is the outward sign that you expect your good. Put your affairs in divine order. Create a sacred place where you steward your money with reverence. Clear clutter that speaks of indecision and delay. File your papers in truth. Make amends for obligations you have ignored. Bless every ledger, every card, every coin. When you prepare a drawer for abundance, abundance recognizes its home and comes to dwell there. Obedience is your swift response to inner guidance. After you claim your inheritance, you will receive gentle nudges. Write this letter, make this call, study this skill, visit this place, organize this space. These seemingly small promptings are the universe's way of orchestrating your miracle. Delay is a form of doubt that signals lack of faith in your claimed good. Obey these intuitive instructions immediately and without question, for they are the golden threads that weave your invisible inheritance into visible form. Overflow is the natural evidence of inheritance consciousness. Give as an heir gives wisely, joyfully, without fanfare or expectation of return. Each act of generous circulation certifies that you believe in endless supply. Set aside a portion of every sum you receive, however modest, to give where you feel spiritually fed or practically moved. This sacred practice fixes the idea of abundance in your subconscious mind and demonstrates your unwavering faith in continuous supply. Release completely the habit of outlining the manner of your good. To insist, it must come through this job, this person, this investment, by this date, is to handcuff the very angels assigned to your prosperity. The infinite has 1,000 avenues where you can see only one. Your claiming statement must be clean of conditions and rich with trust. All that is mine by divine, right now manifests for me in perfect ways. I do not outline the methods or means. I accept my inheritance through whatever channels divine wisdom selects. This practice frees numberless pathways to open, none of which require your strain or struggle. Consider the parable of two merchants. The first toiled under the creed of scarcity, believing that only struggle proved merit, that ease was suspect, that receiving was dangerous. His business reflected his consciousness. Customers were scarce, payments delayed, and unexpected expenses multiplied like weeds in an untended garden. The second entered his workplace each morning saying, "My gifts are divine channels. Supply and opportunity meet me here. I am heir to unlimited prosperity, and my inheritance flows through this business now." He blessed his workspace, blessed his customers, blessed his transactions, and released each day's work with the benediction, "Go forth and prosper, and return to me multiplied." Commissions found him without effort. Collaborations appeared unbidden. Money flowed where inheritance consciousness had been established. The difference was not talent, location, or luck. It was the consciousness from which each operated. Forgiveness serves as the ceremonial key that opens the vault of your inheritance. You cannot claim your birthright while prosecuting old cases in the court of memory. Every charge you hold against another binds your own hands with invisible chains. Every resentment toward those who have disappointed you financially creates a dam in the river of your prosperity. Forgive your debtors, your detractors, your doubters, and yourself in one sweeping decree. I loose and let go of every person and every situation that has caused me financial disappointment. I am free and they are free. Divine justice now balances and settles every account under grace, in perfect order. The moment you speak this with genuine willingness, the atmosphere around your affairs changes. Stale energies move, stalled payments unstick, weary hopes quicken into new life. Transform bill paying from an act of depletion into a celebration of circulation. When you pay your rent, say with genuine feeling, I bless this payment and give thanks for the excellent shelter it provides. This money goes forth to multiply good and returns to me increased under grace. When you pay utilities, declare, I am grateful for the light, warmth, and power these services bring to my life. I bless this exchange and everyone it touches. Each payment becomes a golden opportunity to demonstrate your faith in endless supply and to set the law of circulation in motion for your greater good. Gratitude becomes the language of heirs, spoken fluently throughout each day. Thank before you see the manifestation, for gratitude is recognition, and recognition multiplies what it beholds. When a small sum arrives, treat it like the scout for an army. I welcome you and your battalions. Come in, under grace, in perfect order. When an invoice is paid, say, I bless this circulation and I am ready for greater demonstrations. When an expected payment delays, bless it too. You are finding the perfect path to me now, bringing with you all the good that is mine by divine right. Guard the gate of your mouth with the vigilance of a royal guard, for heirs do not make poverty proclamations. Expunge from your speech the decrees that sentence you to lack. I can't afford it. Money never lasts. Something always goes wrong. Replace them with the language of inheritance. I choose wisely how to invest my unlimited resources. Money loves to serve me and multiply in my hands. Everything works together for my increase and the good of all. If you slip into old patterns of speech, immediately revoke the sentence. I cancel that word. Only abundance and prosperity are true for me. Create an inheritance journal where you record daily evidence of your divine birthright manifesting in your experience. Note every unexpected blessing, every opportunity that appears, every problem that resolves itself with ease, every moment when you feel truly abundant. As you document these experiences, you train your consciousness to recognize the constant flow of your inheritance into your daily life. What you appreciate appreciates, and what you acknowledge with gratitude increases exponentially. Surround yourself with tangible symbols of your inheritance consciousness. Keep one beautiful object that speaks of quality and sufficiency. Maintain one impeccably ordered corner as a shrine to your prosperity. Write your inheritance decree by hand upon fine paper and place it where your eyes fall often. I am one with the inexhaustible riches of the infinite. My supply is immediate, unlimited, and secure. Perfect channels open now for my complete financial freedom. All that is mine by divine right comes to me now, under grace, in perfect order. Read it slowly, as a sovereign reads a royal proclamation, and then proceed to live as if the proclamation has already been enacted throughout your kingdom. Practice the mated destive, royal act of selection that distinguishes heirs from beggars. An heir does not wander bewildered among possibilities. An heir selects by inner guidance and divine wisdom. When presented with options, ask not, can I afford it? But is this mine by divine right? Does this serve my highest good and the good of all? If the answer is yes, the way will be provided through perfect channels. If no, blessing the option releases it to the one for whom it truly belongs, and you move forward unencumbered toward what is authentically yours. When doubt visits your consciousness, and it may, for old habits die slowly, do not wrestle with it in the mud of argument. Seat it politely in the gallery of your mind and continue the business of your kingdom. Take one inspired action to anchor your claim. Organize a drawer, make a guided phone call, offer a service with love, learn a new skill. Action taken under the banner of inheritance, consciousness multiplies results because it springs not from desperate trying, but from confident being. You are not hustling for acceptance, you are expressing what you already are. Above all, keep your claim clean and righteous. Do not attempt to possess what belongs to another. Do not covet another's channel, position, or prize. Your inheritance is individual, marked with your spiritual signature, designed for your unique gifts, and perfectly fitted to bless others through you. When you honor the individuality of supply, envy evaporates and your portion expands naturally. Say often with deep conviction, "What is mine cannot be taken from me. What is not mine cannot be held by me. Only what is mine, by divine right now comes to me, and it comes with ease, joy, and perfect timing, under grace, in the most perfect ways." Remember that claiming your divine inheritance is not a one-time event, but an ongoing recognition, a continuous state of consciousness that you maintain regardless of outer appearances. Each day brings new opportunities to acknowledge your spiritual birthright, to accept your unlimited nature, and to express the abundance that is your true essence. You are not becoming prosperous. You are recognizing the prosperity that you already are. You are not acquiring wealth. You are expressing the wealth that is your divine nature. You are not earning your inheritance. You are simply stepping forward with quiet dignity to claim what has always been yours, prepared with infinite love and waiting patiently for your joyful acceptance. Between the sacred moment of your authoritative declaration and the joyous arrival of your demonstrated good lies a golden pathway illuminated by two complementary lights: the wisdom of divine right selection and the gentle guidance of infinite intelligence speaking through your intuitive nature. These twin principles serve as your compass and your map, ensuring that you move with grace and certainty toward what is authentically yours, while releasing with blessing what was never meant to be yours. This is the art of spiritual discernment, knowing not only what to claim but how to recognize it when it appears, and having the wisdom to distinguish between the genuine article and the glittering counterfeits that may attempt to distract you from your true path. Divine right selection is the serene, authoritative choosing of what belongs to you by spiritual law, coupled with the effortless release of what was never intended for your experience. When you practice this sacred art, you step out of the jangling marketplace of human competition and anxiety into the quiet sanctuary of perfect order where your good stands waiting, labeled with your spiritual signature, untouched by the grasping of others, unthreatened by delay or circumstance. You are no longer a desperate shopper wandering aisles of doubt and bargain bins of compromise. You are a sovereign who recognizes what bears the seal of divine appointment and receives it with dignity and gratitude. The foundation of divine right selection rests upon a fundamental shift in identity. The one who forgets their royal lineage as heir to infinite riches cannot help but select from fear. Fear of missing out, fear of choosing wrongly, fear of not receiving enough. From this fearful consciousness springs hasty bargains, anxious compromises, and the exhausting chase after opportunities that do not truly belong to you. But the heir who remembers their divine nature selects by inner light rather than outer pressure. Such a one knows with unshakable certainty that what is theirs by spiritual law can neither be withheld by human circumstance nor taken by another's success, and therefore chooses with calm authority, guided by peace rather than driven by panic. The universe communicates the specifics of your selection through what has been called the still, small voice. That gentle nudge, that sudden clear idea that seems to spring from nowhere, that unmistakable feeling to move in a resigned, to particular direction, to speak to a certain person, to investigate a specific opportunity. This is not the frantic chatter of the anxious mind, nor the urgent demands of fear, nor the insistent clamor of human desire. True intuitive guidance carries with it a quality of peace, clarity, and rightness that remains steady even when the direction seems illogical to your rational understanding. It is the direct communication from the infinite intelligence that sees the entire chessboard of your life, guiding you along the path of least resistance to your highest and most complete good. One of the clearest signs that an opportunity carries your divine signature is the presence of peace in your consideration of it. Not excitement, mixed with dread, not a temporary high, followed by an anxious crash, but a steady, grounded peace that whispers with quiet authority, "This is yours." Confusion is never a divine directive, hurry is never heaven's herald, pressure is never prophecy's voice. When the pressure of the prescience, right opportunity, relationship, or resource presents itself, you recognize it by its clean, clear tone. Even if it asks you to grow beyond your current comfort zone, it does not threaten your essential nature. Even if it stretches your capabilities, it does not fracture your peace. It arrives wrapped in provision, escorted by perfect timing, and accompanied by an unmistakable sense of dignity and rightness. Consider the illuminating story of a merchant who spent months pursuing what appeared to be a lucrative business arrangement. The opportunity glittered with promise and flattered his ambitions, but it required him to compromise his values and sacrifice his inner peace. Each time his conscience hesitated, fear hissed its familiar lie. "This chance will never come again. You must seize it now or lose everything." In that fear-driven urgency, he nearly signed away his integrity and freedom. Then, in a moment of clarity, he spoke the decree of divine selection. "If this opportunity is mine by divine right, it now remains and expands with perfect ease. If it is not truly mine, it dissolves completely, and its perfect equivalent appears for all concerned, under grace, in ways that bless everyone involved." Within 48 hours, the deal evaporated entirely, taking with it the distorting pressure he had mistaken for divine urgency. 3 weeks later, a partnership opportunity arrived that perfectly matched his integrity, multiplied his income substantially, and strengthened his sense of purpose. He had not lost anything of value. He had simply allowed divine selection to operate on his behalf. The practice of following intuitive guidance requires immediate and unquestioning obedience to these inner promptings. Many people receive clear divine direction, but then allow their logical minds to dissect it, to question its practicality, to dismiss it as foolish or impractical. "Why should I contact that person? We haven't spoken in years. Why should I take that route? It seems out of my way. Why should I investigate that field? It appears to have nothing to do with my stated goals." These moments of hesitation, of reasoning away the guidance, are precisely where countless individuals miss their greatest opportunities and most perfect demonstrations. The universe, in its infinite wisdom and perfect orchestration, sees the entire tapestry of your life, while you, with your limited human perspective, can glimpse only a few threads at a time. Your task is not to understand the complete pattern before you begin weaving, but simply to take the very next stitch that is clearly revealed to you. When you demand to see the entire staircase before taking the first step, you block the flow of guidance and force the infinite intelligence to wait for your finite understanding to catch up with its perfect plan. A young artist provides a beautiful illustration of this principle in action. Having declared her desire for financial freedom and the opportunity to ameng to a desire to express her unique creative gifts, she waited expectantly for obvious opportunities to appear. Days turned into weeks, with no apparent movement in her circumstances. One morning, she felt an inexplicable urge to visit a dusty antique shop she had never noticed before. Her logical mind protested vigorously. "What possible good will that accomplish? You should be painting, networking, marketing your work, not browsing through old furniture." But the inner prompting was unmistakably strong, carrying with it that quality of peaceful certainty that distinguishes true guidance from mere whim. She chose to obey. Inside the shop, she discovered not an artistic opportunity, but a peculiar, ornate picture frame that spoke to her heart in ways she could not explain. Despite her modest budget, she felt compelled to purchase it. The very next day, a prominent art collector who had discovered her work online contacted her with an unusual request. He wanted to commission a very specific, period-style portrait and mentioned that he was having considerable difficulty finding the appropriate frame for another piece in his collection. His description matched perfectly the frame she had just acquired through her seemingly illogical detour. The artist not only sold her commissioned painting at a handsome price, but also sold the frame for more than triple what she had paid for it. More importantly, this collector became a devoted patron who opened doors throughout the art world that she could never have accessed through conventional networking. Had she reasoned away her intuitive nudge and dismissed the seemingly irrelevant guidance, she would have missed entirely the connection that launched her career into abundance and recognition. This exemplifies the essence of inspired action. It flows from inner guidance rather than outer striving, feels effortless rather than forced, and creates results that far exceed what human effort alone could accomplish. When you follow these intuitive breadcrumbs with faith and obedience, you find yourself moving along a prepared pathway where doors open as if by invisible hands, where coincidences multiply with delightful frequency, and where the manifestation of your declared good unfolds with a grace and ease that defies conventional logic. Cultivating sensitivity to this inner guidance requires the deliberate quieting of mental chatter and emotional turbulence. The mind, like a mountain lake, must be calm for the reflections of truth to appear clearly. Fear, anxiety, resentment, and impatience create ripples that distort these reflections, making it impossible to discern the true path from the false. Therefore, the practices of forgiveness, gratitude, and peaceful meditation become essential tools for maintaining the clarity necessary to hear and follow divine direction accurately. It is crucial to distinguish between authentic intuitive guidance and the various imposters that may masquerade as divine direction. Fear often speaks with urgent anxiety and a sense of impending doom, demanding immediate action to avoid catastrophe. The ego speaks with pride, seeking validation, control, or superiority over others. Mere personal desire, while sometimes aligned with good, often carries the restless quality of attachment and lacks the peaceful certainty of true guidance. Authentic intuition, by contrast, is calm, clear, often unexpected, and consistently leads toward expansion, peace, and the highest good of all concerned. If a prompting brings feelings of pressure, anxiety, or compulsion, it is likely not divine guidance. If it brings a quiet sense of knowing, a feeling of rightness, or a sudden clear idea that feels natural and effortless, then you are likely receiving genuine communication from infinite intelligence. The greatest obstacle to following intuitive guidance is the human tendency to demand a complete blueprint before taking the first step. The logical mind insists on seeing the entire staircase illuminated before it will consent to move, but divine guidance rarely reveals more than the immediate next step. This is not divine stinginess, but divine wisdom. Too much information at once would overwhelm your capacity to process and act, while just enough light for the next step keeps you in a state of active faith and responsive obedience. To insist on seeing the complete plan is to block the flow of guidance and force the universe to wait for your limited intellect to comprehend what can only be experienced through trusting movement. Taking inspired action represents the highest form of practical faith. It is not merely believing intellectually that your good will manifest, but actively demonstrating that belief through your immediate, responsive movement. When you act promptly on an intuitive prompting, you send a clear signal to the universe: I trust your guidance completely. I am ready to receive my good. I am a clear, obedient channel for divine orchestration. This demonstration of trust opens wider channels for even clearer guidance to flow, creating an upward spiral of declaration, guidance, action, and manifestation. Conversely, repeatedly ignoring or reasoning away intuitive nudges is like continuously turning off the lights the universe is attempting to illuminate for your benefit. Eventually, the guidance may diminish, or the path may become more difficult as you stumble in the darkness of your own mental reasoning. To integrate this sacred practice into your daily experience, begin each morning with a conscious request for guidance. Speak aloud with sincere intention. Infinite intelligence, what would you have me do today? Show me the perfect path. Lead me to my highest good and the good of all concerned. I am completely open and receptive to your perfect guidance, and I commit to obeying promptly and without question. Then, throughout your day, pay careful attention to those quiet nudges, those clear ideas that seem to arise from stillness, those gentle feelings of, I should do this now. Do not dismiss these promptings as imagination or coincidence. If a thought comes to contact someone, make that contact. If an idea comes to investigate something, pursue that investigation. If an urge comes to visit a particular place, make that journey. Approach each prompting without attachment to specific outcomes, simply trusting that every inspired action is a perfectly placed stepping stone along your divinely appointed path. The transformation of your relationship with choice becomes one of the most practical applications of divine right selection. Instead of agonizing over decisions or frantically trying to manipulate outcomes, you learn to present each choice to the altar of divine wisdom and listen for the response that brings peace. When faced with multiple options, hold each possibility gently in your consciousness and ask with sincere openness, which of these is mine by divine right? Which choice serves my anytime, highest good and the good of all? Notice the subtle responses in your body, your breath, your sense of lightness or heaviness. The option that brings genuine peace, even if it requires more courage or growth, is often the one marked with your spiritual signature. Create what might be called a guidance sanctuary, a quiet, orderly space where you can sit in stillness and listen for divine direction. Keep this area free from distractions, perhaps adorned with objects that inspire your connection to infinite wisdom. Visit this sanctuary regularly, not only when facing major decisions, but as a daily practice of conscious communion with the source of all guidance. In this sacred space, speak your gratitude for guidance already received, ask for continued direction, and sit in receptive silence, allowing the still, small voice to make itself known to your listening heart. Practice the art of blessing and releasing what is not yours with the same grace you use to claim what is yours. When an opportunity passes you by, when a door closes, when something you desired goes to another, bless it completely and declare with genuine conviction, nothing that is mine by divine right can be withheld from me. Nothing that is not mine can be forced into my experience. I bless this apparent loss, knowing it makes space for something better to enter. What is truly mine now comes to me through perfect channels, under grace, in perfect ways. This practice transforms apparent disappointment into joyful anticipation and keeps your consciousness clear for recognizing the perfect opportunities that are authentically yours. Guard your speech with the vigilance of one who understands that words are creative forces. Do not speak doubt about your ability to receive guidance. I never know what to do, or I'm so confused about everything. Instead, declare with quiet authority, I am clearly guided in all my ways. Divine wisdom flows through me continuously. I recognize my perfect path and walk it with confidence and joy. When others attempt to draw you into conversations about confusion, difficulty, or impossible choices, offer a higher perspective. I trust that divine order is arranging the perfect solution for everyone involved, or I know that infinite wisdom is guiding us all to our highest good. The practice of divine right selection extends naturally into every area of your life: relationships, living situations, career opportunities, investments, even daily choices about how to spend your time and energy. In each situation, the same principle applies. What is yours by divine appointment will feel right, will come with provision, will align with your highest values, and will contribute to the good of all involved. What is not yours will feel forced, will require compromise of your integrity, will create anxiety rather than peace, or will benefit you at the expense of others' well-being. Remember that divine timing is never delay but always perfect. Orchestration, what appears to your impatient human nature as postponement, is actually the careful coordination of all necessary elements to ensure your complete and lasting success. The infinite intelligence that guides you also controls the timing of your demonstrations, bringing each element into perfect alignment for maximum benefit and minimum struggle. Your part is to remain in peaceful expectancy, following each guidance as it comes, trusting that the conductor of this divine symphony knows precisely when each instrument should enter for the most beautiful and harmonious result. As you develop proficiency in divine right selection and following intuitive guidance, you will discover that life becomes increasingly effortless and graceful. You stop struggling against closed doors and learn to walk through the ones that open easily. You cease trying to force relationships, opportunities, or outcomes, and instead allow the perfect matches to find you through divine magnetism. You release the exhausting burden of trying to figure everything out with your limited human understanding and rest in the infinite wisdom that sees all, knows all, and arranges all for your highest good. This is the royal road to manifestation, not through struggle and strain, but through recognition and receptivity, not through forcing and fighting, but through listening and following, not through anxiety and effort, but through peace and inspired action. When you master these principles, you become a living demonstration of divine order in action, and your life becomes a testimony to the truth that when you align with infinite wisdom and follow its gentle guidance, all things work together for your good in ways more beautiful and abundant than you could ever have imagined or arranged through human effort alone.